The harsh truth was, they always noticed her scars. Not the kind you could simply mask with a touch of makeup, but the deep, indelible marks that whispered tales no one ever dared to ask about. Claire Doyle, at 35, moved through her morning shift at that roadside diner, just off Route 12, a silent, almost spectral presence. She didn't talk much, a deliberate choice. Her smiles were rare, fleeting ghosts across her lips. Yet, she was a quiet constant, a testament to efficiency. Never an order wrong, never a coffee cup left empty, and always those extra napkins brought without a word to the table with a fidgeting kid. The whispers, though, they followed her like a shadow. Some were hushed, barely audible, while others were loud, brash pronouncements. Bet she picked the wrong fight. One would snicker, swirling their coffee. Probably got those overseas, working that kind of job, not serving. Another would sneer, their laughter echoing a little too harshly. But Claire, she was a fortress of silent dignity. She didn't flinch, didn't react, just poured another cup, cleared another plate, and with a practiced, almost unconscious gesture, tugged her sleeve a fraction farther down her arm, as if she could erase the visible history etched into her skin. Her anonymity was her shield, her silence a carefully constructed wall, hoping to keep the world and its judging eyes at bay. The fragile peace Claire had built around herself began to crack with the arrival of a new group of out-of-town contractors. They quickly became regulars, but their presence brought a chilling shift in the diner's atmosphere. They made no effort to hide their disdain, their laughter echoing a little too loud as they pointed out her limp, her unwavering silence, and most cruelly her scars. Their comments, at first whispered, escalated over several weeks into open mockery and deliberate harassment. It was as if they relished Claire's discomfort, her quiet inability to lash back, her raw vulnerability laid bare. Regulars, usually so quick to their coffee, looked down, a few shifting uncomfortably, but most simply averted their gaze, choosing silence over intervention. Claire, however, met their cruelty with a profound, almost heartbreaking dignity. She had faced worse, endured actual combat, survived real trauma. This civilian cruelty, though painful and undeniably hurtful, was manageable, never truly devastating. She focused on her work, on her customers, on the quiet rhythm of her responsibilities, refusing to let ignorant strangers compromise her standards or infect her performance. Then one day, amidst the callous jeers, a small, innocent voice cut through the din. A child, pointing to the faint lines on the back of her hand, asked with genuine curiosity, "Did it hurt?" It was a question adults, steeped in their own assumptions and fears, carefully avoided. Claire paused, the usual mask of impassivity softening. A rare, gentle smile touched her lips, a fragile blossom in the harshness of the moment. "Not as much as being forgotten," she replied softly, the truth of her words hanging heavy in the air. That simple, profound answer resonated with several customers, making them pause, making them think. It pricked at their consciences, forcing them to wonder about her story, her service, her sacrifice, about the vast chasm between what they had assumed and what might truly be. It was a moment of stark clarity, revealing the deeper, unseen wounds that physical scars could never fully tell. Then, the diner's familiar rhythm shifted with the quiet entrance of a man in a weathered marine cap. He sat at booth 6, observing, his gaze steady. Claire brought him coffee, and he nodded his thanks. As she reached across the table to pick up the check, a subtle movement, an accidental slip of her sleeve occurred. There, faintly visible, was a tattoo, 3 to 5 INF. The moment hung in the air, charged with an unspoken understanding. It hit the Marine with the force of a sudden, sacred recognition. His hand, as he reached into his coat pocket, trembled slightly. Then, softly, as if speaking too loudly would shatter something precious, he asked, "Did it heal? Okay after Ramadi?" This wasn't a casual question. His eyes widened, his posture straightened, and a profound understanding deepened on his face. The tattoo wasn't just ink on skin. It was a battle flag identifying a unit, revealing service. The 3rd Battalion 5th Infantry Regiment, a combat unit, a hero unit. The Marine knew that designation. He respected it, honored it. Suddenly, Claire wasn't just a quiet, scarred waitress. She was a combat veteran, a medic, a hero. The contractor's earlier mockery, in this newfound context, seemed even more abhorrent, more shameful. They had been harassing someone who had served, who had sacrificed, who had bled for their freedom. Their ignorance was inexcusable, their behavior shameful, their cruelty unpatriotic. The regular customers, witnessing this quiet revelation, felt a wave of complicity, a pang of guilt for having watched the harassment happen without intervening. Claire's hidden service, accidentally revealed, had now triggered something powerful, something long overdue. This Marine, recognizing the profound significance of that tattoo, knew that tomorrow would be different. He would ensure it. Recognition was approaching, respect was organizing, and honor was mobilizing. Claire finished her shift, blissfully unaware of the profound shift she had unwittingly ignited, the powerful response brewing in the diner's quiet corners. The Marine, however, sat silently, thinking, planning, preparing. Other customers, now awash in shared guilt, whispered among themselves, hatching plans for redemption. The very atmosphere of the diner had irrevocably shifted. Understanding had brutally replaced ignorance, and a burgeoning respect was swiftly replacing indifference. The moment finally arrived. The Marine veteran rose slowly, his gaze fixed first on the tattoo, then on Claire's face. "Ramadi?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion, barely a whisper. Claire, her own breath catching, simply nodded. He then did something that stilled the entire room. He removed his weathered cap, placed it reverently over his heart, and in front of every single person in that diner. His voice resonating with an undeniable raw truth, he said, "I was saved by a medic who didn't speak, just acted. I think it might have been you." Silence descended, heavy and absolute. The contractors, their faces now contorted with shame, lowered their eyes. One whispered, barely audible, "I didn't know." Then an elderly couple, their faces etched with a quiet dignity, slowly stood, walked over to Claire, and with tears in their eyes simply said, "Thank you, Sergeant." The diner manager emerged from the back, a look of profound realization on his face, and immediately gave Claire the rest of her shift off with pay. Claire, true to her nature, didn't say much, but that day, for the first time in a very long time, she didn't eat lunch alone. The Marine's powerful recognition transformed everything, instantly, completely. Claire's identity, once an unknown quantity, a subject of cruel whispers, shifted dramatically. She was no longer a suspected troublemaker or an object of ridicule. She was a known hero, a confirmed patriot, and a subject of profound respect. His story, once shared, emerged gradually, emotionally. He had been severely wounded in Ramadi, nearly fatally so. A medic, working under relentless fire, had saved his life, refusing to give up. He had never learned her name, never clearly seen her face, but he remembered her hands, her voice, her unyielding determination. The tattoo confirmed what his soul had instinctively known. Claire was his lifesaver, his literal angel, the very reason he had survived. The coincidence was remarkable, deeply meaningful, providential. Two souls connected by the crucible of combat, reunited by chance, recognized by an act of grace. The Marine's emotional response was genuine, overwhelming, and utterly transformative. He had carried that burden of gratitude for years, wondering about his rescuer, praying for her safety. Now he knew. She was alive, she was struggling, and now the saved would save the saver. Claire's reaction was a complex tapestry of surprise, gratitude, and a deeply ingrained discomfort with attention. She had never sought recognition, never expected thanks, never wanted to be seen. But in that moment, the raw acknowledgement felt undeniably good. Validation mattered. Being seen was healing. For the first time in years, Claire felt truly valued, deeply appreciated, genuinely remembered. The diner's transformation was equally immediate, dramatic, and profoundly beneficial. Contractors who had mocked her now stood utterly ashamed, silent, and apologetic. Regular customers who had previously ignored the harassment now spontaneously offered support, respect, and gratitude. Staff who had treated her as just another employee now recognized her as extraordinary. The elderly couple's simple gesture was particularly meaningful. They represented community, tradition, and a deep, ingrained respect for service. Their public thanks validated Claire's profound sacrifice, honored her contribution, and began the process of restoring her dignity. Other customers, moved by the moment, followed their example, approaching Claire, expressing their gratitude, creating an impromptu circle of support, a protective ring, a nascent community of respect. The manager's gesture of paid time off was both practical and deeply symbolic. It represented value, recognition, an investment in someone truly important. Claire was no longer just an employee. She was an honored veteran, a valued community member. The contractor's shame was palpable, appropriate, and intensely educational. They had learned a vital lesson about assumptions, about respect, about the profound weight of service. Their cruelty had targeted someone who had earned the exact opposite treatment. Their ignorance had cost them credibility, respect, and their place in the community. Some apologized directly, others quietly left, but all undoubtedly learned lasting lessons about judging appearances, about respecting veterans, about truly understanding sacrifice. Claire's isolation ended that day. Her community began that very moment. Veterans, drawn by the story, started visiting the diner regularly, seeking connection, offering support. Fellow soldiers recognized a shared kinship, a mutual understanding born of impossible experiences. Claire's service, once hidden, now created a powerful network. Her sacrifice built profound relationships. Her quiet courage began to inspire others. The diner itself began its transformation, becoming an informal veteran center, a meeting place, a safe space where service was honored, where sacrifice was remembered, where heroes could finally feel at home. Claire's story, once a quiet secret, began to spread like wildfire through veteran networks, social media, and community organizations. This wasn't for fleeting publicity, but for a deeper purpose. For connection, for healing, for inspiration. Her powerful example encouraged other hidden veterans, other struggling heroes, other forgotten warriors to seek help, to accept support, and to finally claim their rightful honor. Claire's accidental revelation had triggered something far larger than just personal recognition. It had started a movement, it had created a community, and it had inspired profound change. Her individual story became a collective inspiration. Her personal struggle transformed into a shared mission for countless others. The Marine's intervention had been perfectly timed, expertly delivered, almost divinely arranged. Claire desperately needed recognition, the broader community needed education, and veterans across the nation needed connection. That single moment of courage had addressed all three needs, creating a lasting impact that rippled far beyond the diner's walls. Claire's service was finally visible, her sacrifice was properly honored, and her dignity was completely restored. Exactly the way it should have been from the very beginning, the way all veterans deserved, the way America should honor its heroes. A local journalist, who had been quietly observing from a booth behind them, published a column the very next week. It was simply titled, "The Woman with Quiet Valor." Claire's photo was blurred, she hadn't given permission, but her powerful quote appeared, etched into the hearts of readers. "You don't do it for recognition, you do it so someone else gets to go home." The article spread like wildfire. Veterans from other towns began making pilgrimages to the diner, just to shake her hand, to offer a quiet nod of understanding. The journalist's article captured something essential, something universal about hidden heroes, about quiet service, about unrecognized sacrifice. Claire's story came to represent thousands of similar tales. Veterans who served without fanfare, who struggled without support, who contributed without recognition. The article's impact was immediate, widespread, and deeply powerful. Veterans recognized themselves in Claire's experience. Civilians learned about the hidden sacrifices made for their freedom, and communities began to awaken to their profound obligations. Claire's quote became memorable, shareable, and incredibly inspirational. It distilled military service to its purest essence. Not glory, not recognition, but the sacred mission of bringing others home safely. The purpose that mattered most, the goal that justified every sacrifice. Veterans from across the region now made pilgrimages to the diner, not for celebrity worship, but for connection, for understanding, for solidarity. Claire became a living symbol of resilience, of selfless service, of quiet strength. Her very presence validated their own experiences. Her recognition honored their service, and her quiet strength encouraged their healing journeys. The diner's transformation was permanent, deeply meaningful, and incredibly beneficial. It became a cherished gathering place for veterans, a true safe space for sharing, a vital community center for healing. Claire's individual recognition had given birth to a collective benefit. Her personal healing had enabled profound community service. Her story sparked similar recognitions across the country, leading to other hidden veterans being discovered, other quiet heroes finally being honored. A movement had begun, a culture shifted, a community awakened to its profound obligations to its heroes, to its debt of gratitude. Months later, the back wall of the diner was adorned with a beautiful mural. It wasn't Claire's face, but her silhouette in uniform, kneeling beside a stretcher. Underneath it, the words read, "We serve in silence until someone remembers." Claire never asked for it, but every morning, she would pause for just a second when passing it. Not to be seen, but to remember those who couldn't come home. The fallen comrades, the lost patients, the impossible missions, the faces she couldn't save, the names she couldn't forget, the profound weight she carried daily. The mural became a local landmark, a tourist destination, a pilgrimage site. Veterans traveled from across the country to see it, to honor it, to remember through its powerful imagery. Claire's silhouette captured the very essence of military service. Anonymous dedication, selfless action, quiet heroism. The inscription honored all veterans, all medics, all who served in the shadows. A long overdue recognition for an entire community of hidden heroes, silent warriors, forgotten guardians. Claire's daily pause became a sacred ritual, a deeply personal moment of observance. The mural honored their memory through her service, their sacrifice through her survival, their mission through her ongoing healing. Claire's story had come full circle. From hidden shame to public honor, from personal struggle to profound community inspiration. Her service was finally visible, her sacrifice was remembered, her dignity was truly restored. It was the way all veterans deserved to be honored, the way America should express its gratitude.